Set the 3-digit lockbox to 729. Next, set the 4-digit combination lock to 9398. The word lock should say the word atone, A-T-O-N-E. Finally, the directional lock should be set to up, down, right, up, left, right.
The first thing you want to do is print out the paper that has 0 through 9 colored and cut it out into a small rectangle. Then flip it over and draw this symbol on the back, a circle with the dot in the middle. Now tape it to the top of the box with only the tape going across the top of the rectangle. That way you can flip it over easily and see the symbol on the back. Now you're going to need a copy of Huckleberry Finn. We're going to highlight 3 passages in this book, and then you need to hide it somewhere in the room. I usually keep it in somewhat plain sight, but it's up to you how well you want to hide it. The first passage is found in chapter 21, I think about 3/4 of the way through the chapter. I found this one in my book. It's page 154, but we want to highlight the phrase that says, "and had a very red face." So use this picture as a reference. The paragraph it starts with was "he was drunk" and weaving about. And then when after you highlight this, make sure you write down the page number because we're going to refer to that in the first clue. The second passage you want to highlight is halfway through chapter 20, and the phrase is "piles of watermelon and green corn." Again, take note of the page number because that will be important. The last phrase you'll want to highlight comes at the end of chapter 7. It's "looked out on the big river and the black driftwood." Again, take note of the page number, in my case 42. The next step is to print out this memo. On the bottom, you're going to write the page numbers that from the passages we just highlighted. So in my case it was 154, 142, and 42. Flip this memo over and write a big symbol, a circle with a line down the middle. Next, cut this memo up into 10 to 15 pieces. The more pieces you cut it up into, the harder it will be to put together, so keep that in mind. I find that about 12 is just about right. It takes them a few minutes to get it, maybe 2 to 3 minutes to put it together. This next puzzle is one of my favorites. You have 2 options there too. You can either print this grid out by itself, and if you do that, that's fine. You can fold it up and put it in the lockbox. That's a great place for it. The other option will take a little bit more work and is a little bit more robust, I guess, or more involved, is to use the option where you use them as tiles on the floor. So I have in the folder, I have a Google Doc that has each of these numbers on their own separate sheet of paper, and you can print out all 24 sheets of paper and arrange them on the floor like I have here. I would probably tape them on the floor as well. Now print out and cut out these series of directions and place them around the room on the walls in plain sight. Pick one of these papers and write this symbol on the back. Print and cut out this math problem and place it on the wall somewhere as well. Also, hide the key. On the flash drive, save the 3 items that are in the folder labeled "Stuff to Save on the Flash Drive." Put the flash drive and the grid into the lockbox and hide the lockbox somewhere in the room. Print in color this list of supplies needed for the bunker and put it in the breakout box. This will be the last clue. Now I'd like to talk about the flow of the game, or the order they're going to solve these things in. So the first clue they'll get is this memo. It's cut up. They'll piece it together and read it through, hopefully out loud. On the bottom, the PS part mentions Huckleberry. So hopefully somebody finds Huckleberry fairly quickly, and then they'll notice the numbers on the bottom. They'll look up the page numbers. Once they see the page numbers, they'll find the three highlighted passages, read them out loud, and hopefully they'll piece together that all three have the same thing in common. They mention colors: red, green, and black. Then they can refer to the box, the strip of paper on the box that has those numbers, and the colors that go with those numbers are 729. This is the code for the lockbox that'll be hidden in the room. Inside the box, they'll find this grid. Now, around the room, you have placed these series of directions, the A, B, and C directions. And by now they probably have found those and have tried them on the directional lock several times, which of course do not open because those directions go to this grid. The idea here is they start in the middle and they move where the directions say. So for instance, A says move up, up, right, down, right. So if they start in the middle and move that way, up, up, right, down, right, they'll get to the digit 1. They'll go back to the middle for B and C, do the same thing, and they should get the digits 1, 2, 7. This puzzle I find is the hardest for students because it involves math. However, the actual math is only 4th grade level. If they can divide and find a remainder, then this is actually pretty easy. The problem is they've never actually seen it written out this way and with this particular wording. Now, because this is hard, I usually put it out right away on the wall so they can see it right away and start working on it. That way they have as much time as they need. But if you have a stronger group that's a little bit more advanced, then you can take this and instead of printing it out and writing it on the wall or taping it on the wall, you can write it on a 3x5 card and put some of the letters in ink and some of them in an invisible ink, and then you can hide the flashlight to see the invisible ink in the lockbox. So the answer to this egg problem is actually 74. If you divide 74 by 7, you'll have a remainder of 4. If you divide 74 by 6, you'll have a remainder of 2. And if you divide 74 by 5, you'll have a remainder of 4. Please notice also that there's a symbol on the right side of this. If you do decide to do the harder method of writing it out, make sure you write this symbol either on the back or on the front, somewhere where they can get to. After they've opened the lockbox, they'll discover the flash drive that has a bunch of things, one of them being this little symbol that says grid times egg. So once they've solved the grid problem, got 127, the egg problem got 74, this tells them to multiply those two together, which gives, I believe, 9398, and that's the that's the combination for the 4-digit lock. Once the lockbox is open and they have the flash drive, one of the docs on there is this one right here. It's a memo. And this one actually unlocks the directional lock, and it kind of mentions that in the very beginning. It says this, there hints to it, the children of this world are lost and must look for direction. Now if they continue to read throughout this memo, they'll see the words up, down, left, and right all over the place, and that's the combination they're going to use. So if I read on, this world is all messed up. Up is the first direction. Corruption, greed, crime, and hatred are everywhere. We, the pure, must tear it down. So down is the second direction. In order to rebuild a new one, this act must be done right away. So right. After we blow up this world, all that will be left is the pure, and we will make things right. So the combination up, down, right, up, left, right. The final item on that flash drive is this codex, which has symbols with letters that go with them. Now throughout the game, they should have found 5 symbols, which are circled here, and those lead to the letters A, E, and O, T. If they unscramble those letters, the only word they can really make is atone, and that is the word lock. So at this point of the game, they have all the locks unlocked. They have found the key and opened the key lock. They've used 9398 from those 2 puzzles to open the combination lock. They have the directional lock open from that memo, and the word lock from the symbols with the codex. Once they open the box, this is the last clue. It says supplies needed for the bunker, and it has a list of items. Hopefully right away they will see the colors of those items, and hopefully that leads them back to the very beginning on the box, because that's important. So each of these has a different color, so they'll have a different number that goes with them. For instance, solar panels is purple, and purple goes with the number 6. Now what they'll do is they'll write down all the numbers next to the words, and a lot of times they'll turn in the numbers thinking that's the password to disarm the bomb, but it's not. The password is a word or a phrase. So what they'll need to do is they'll use those numbers and they'll count that many letters for that word. So for the first word, it says solar panels, they'll count the 6th letter, which is actually P. And they'll keep doing that for each one, depending on its color. They'll count the letters, and then it should spell out pure world. Once they write that down and hand it to me, I tell them the game is over, they have won, and we celebrate.